Look, Mom, I'm on the television. Spoilers ahead. Obviously. I went back and rewatched season 2 of the Fallout TV show back to back, and I've got some things to say. Welcome to my end of season review.
Oh, turn that off. Put something else on. From pacing to plot lines to plot holes to contrivances, Season 2 of the Fallout TV show has more problems than Season 1 does, but without the flair to carry it through those bad decisions. Don't get me wrong, there are some really good moments and some high highs in Season 2, and overall it wasn't a bad product. The visuals for the most part are really good, with some great choreographed fight scenes, though some not as good. It has some great acting moments, and the actors really bring the performance. But then there's some less than stellar moments. I want to be clear about this. If you like the show, great. Why are you here? Why did you click on this video if you're just going to comment about how anyone hating the show is just a Vegas glazer or something? I am going to criticize this show a lot. Not because I want to hate it, but because I don't think the show did enough to earn its full marks. Unlike many, I'm coming at this from the standpoint of liking Fallout, and thus I want to like the show. I was let down, so let's talk about it. In this show, I'm going to be talking about 4 main aspects that I feel were problematic. Multiple plots, the writing, the pacing, the location. So, let's start off with some small minor details. I firmly believe that if you drop the ball on the little details, that becomes a reflection of the product as a whole. You don't care enough to get the little stuff right, and thus are going to miss on the bigger stuff. This would come under location. The dinosaur. You knew it was coming. This shouldn't be a surprise that I take issue with it. I fail to really wrap my head around this decision, other than they didn't play the game much and thought it'd be a nice callback and everybody would point at their screen like this. But I really need to know why the dinosaur, my boy Dinky, moved positions and rotated. It's a sniper's nest. The whole concept of it is providing a unique vantage point to see raiders coming in and out of town, allowing the sniper to rain down fire on any unsuspecting foe. Why is it now facing inward? Lucy could still use the dinosaur if it was facing the right way. It just seems weird that he's now facing towards the hotel, motel, holiday inn. It's such a basic thing to not get wrong, and it's especially annoying because you made such a good set. You physically made the dinosaur, and you just got it wrong. A nitpick, absolutely, but I think it's valid criticism that's a reflection of Season 2's lack of awareness, care, or use of location. Speaking of building sets, I can't wrap my head around why the strip is just fundamentally wrong. I mean, this thing's messy even from like a pre-war aspect. It's not just completely the wrong layout, but it's also all over the place. For first timers who had never seen the strip before, a lot of people looked at me and they all said the same thing. What road is built like that? And again, I don't know how you could get something as simple as a road wrong, but hey, you managed to do that. Which is a shame because really this would have been a really easy thing to pull off, but instead you kind of just plop all the buildings into one random street corner and expect us to do this whenever we see the Gamora or an Ultralux. It's just disappointing to see that you go to all the effort to build these sets, and then you just get it wrong every time you do it. Though I did like to see Camp Golf. That was quite a nice little callback. I felt like that was a good bit of location and a good use of it. The use of Vault 24, it didn't really bother me as it was cut content from the game, so it being here was fine. Other locations like Freeside or the strip itself, I will cover later on in the video because they're a part of a bigger problem. Though the lack of New Vegas locations being actually visited makes me a little confused. Again, we'll cover that later on. There are far too many plots going on in just 8 episodes of television. We have The Legion plot, a twofold plot. Will they survive? What will they do if they're united? The NCR plot, will they return, and what will happen if they do? Lucy's plot, find her dad through Fallout. The Ghoul's plot, find his family and assist Miss McLean. Maximus's plot, just trying to do the right thing, starts a civil war. Steph's plot, Canadian vibes. Hank's plot, your ride's over mutie, time to die. Norm's plot, am I the mutie? What about all the other Voldies? The Enclave plot, muhahaha, we're still alive. The House always wins plot, the past plot, pre-war plot, Quintus's plot, Thaddeus's plot, Vault 33, Reg's incest plot. There's upwards of 20 different stories all happening at once in these 8 episodes, and they're all fighting for screen time. I'm sorry, but the amount of screen time should have gone to the big 3 main story characters, but we sometimes spend more time in the vaults with Reg's incest club or Steph's South Park episodes. There was too much going on, and because of that, we just had an editing and pacing nightmare. The writing simply didn't make room for any of this. It was just assumed that they could cram it all in, and given how episodes this season are also shorter, none of it worked. The writing for Steph is fine. It's a pretty compelling story once you get into it, but you didn't write it in soon enough. Instead, you waited right to the end to give us a lore drop on the character, while giving the incest club so much screen time earlier on. I take issue with that club. Fundamentally, I think you're a bad writer for including it. The writing, not just the editing, but the writing focuses on the wrong things far too much. Also, everyone, at least earlier on, just seems kind of dumb. Everyone just acts like they've had a lobotomy. From goofy Brotherhood knights to seemingly competent knights turning their back on a stranger that they just handed a hammer to is kind of silly, especially when Max is asking him not to shoot. No, like seriously, Harkness puts way too much faith into Max here for someone he's only just met, and he is aware is technically his enemy. The Brotherhood as a whole, elders included, feels more like a circus than an actual, apparently very powerful military organization. The Legion seem really stupid. Apparently all their intelligent officers like Lucius and Lanius and Wulpez died because there's no intelligence to be found in the faction now. Al seems a little bit silly at times, though not as neutered as others. I could go on, you get the point. Cooper not telling Lucy exactly who the Legion slaves were is also something that still bothers me upon rewatch, because it's not like he didn't have time to. Remember, he needs Lucy alive. We find this out in later episodes. He needs her alive so he can make a deal for his family, and yet he would rather risk her dying or worse in the Legion camp. He could have just said, hey, these are bad people. They're part of the Legion. If they get their hands on you, it's going to be bad. But he just stays silent about it. Bear in mind, this is someone he wants to protect. He doesn't warn her about the Legion, which seems really out of character for him. It felt contrived. The dialogue at times also feels very Reddit-coded too, from the talking in the dinky down to the cons, all the way to the way she speaks to the Legion. There's a lot of times I was almost rolling my eyes at things that were being said, because what do you mean the Legion, who literally just slashed some person's head off and is currently impaling it on a spike, would stand there and let you insult them? They're in the middle of the Civil War. Why are they wasting time on her? That's what I mean. I don't mind people being silly or being goofy or being dumb, but there's a whole lot of it in this show. Like a whole lot. Like, I would say predominantly this is more of a slapstick goofy show than it is a serious Fallout story. And I would personally expect a show about a post-apocalyptic setting to be more grounded and bitter. Continuing with the writing. The tone is way off, completely off most of the time. Throughout New Vegas, you will meet a cast of characters that are goofy and funny, and they're meant to not really be taken seriously.
I know a guy, his motto is love thy neighbor. He lives next to a brothel, oh no.
They asked me if I knew anything about power plants. I said as much as anyone I had ever met. They asked me how well I understood theoretical physics. I said I had a theoretical degree in physics. They said, welcome aboard.
They're actually meant as a break in the storm, but they also highlight that some people, when far removed from the conflict, will be unaware of the daunting chaos that surrounds them. They're happy to be alive, surrounded by walls and security, and their personality reflects this. It's almost bittersweet in a sense. None of that here. There's a line I go back to all the time just to highlight what's wrong with the tone of this show. It's this.
Oh man, the ball's gone.
That's dumb. You're dumb.
Your whole world is gone. Everyone and everything you've ever known has been destroyed. And I get it, this is supposed to contrast a scene later on, but it's in a different episode, and it's not like the show doesn't focus more on this pseudo-slapstick presentation anyway. This is a horrifying moment. Let that sit. Again, the Incest Club. Holy fire, does this show focus way too much on incest. On this week's episode, the author's barely disguised fetish. The show flounders around and misses the point for a good chunk of the earlier part of the season. There's genuinely so many points in this show where the tension and the horror and the seriousness is completely thrown to the wayside for a quick little quirky joke, and it's just, it happens so much.
50 cap says he goes down to the next 5 minutes.
I'll put 20 on 3.
I just felt like bewildered, and they even make a point on this where one of them says,
You know if you lose this, we're all dead, right?
I'm still in for 20.
That's dumb.
and yet they just carry on. Like, if he loses, you're all gonna die horrifically.
Dumb.
That's what I mean. There's so much of that. And we do get a neat moment with Thaddeus, who hypes his friend up and whatnot, but this is what I mean. It's so tone deaf at times. The writing very rarely leaves room for tension, very rarely lets scenes sit, very rarely leaves room for fear, or the very concept that people should be rightfully distraught. The world is destroyed, they could die in the next 10 seconds. Instead, we get MCU quips and haha funny dialogue moments in very serious sections, which is a shame because when the show wants to do this, it does serious tension reasonably well. The writing of the show has a few major flaws. It doesn't leave room for good editing, given the way each story progresses. It doesn't leave room or space for moments to sit with reflection or tension. It can be genuinely tone deaf at times, and there are some odd, poor, and weak dialogue choices. Which is a shame because, like I said, when the show wants to do these moments, it can do them well. Like with the Vault from earlier episodes when they show the experiments, or the standoff when Max is out of his power armor. I think the show focuses too much on the goofy side, and people will defend that by saying, well, that's always been Fallout. Yeah, well, there's always been gore bags with people's limbs dangling out, or people on chains and hooks hanging from the ceiling in Fallout. Okay, there's mutilation in Fallout, there's mutations in Fallout. You have some really dark aspects, but you like your 1950s pseudo-slapstick comedy, so we're gonna ignore all of that and go, ha ha, funny MCU quip. No. You can have both. That's what made Fallout so good, is the blend. Moving on to the editing. It's just a mess. By far one of the biggest issues with this season is its editing. I've talked with a few friends about this, and one of them put it the best way they possibly could. In Game of Thrones, you could go entire episodes without seeing Jon Snow, but then when you saw him, he got nearly a full episode to himself, so it never felt like you were missing out on anything, or anything was rushed and his story was sidelined. There was time for him to grow in his own way, at his own pace. Should have definitely happened here. In one episode, we jump from Thaddeus to Lucy, to the past, to Thaddeus again, to the Vault, to Reg, to Norm, to Steph, back to Lucy, and it's just so jumbled, it's just so messy, it's just so weak. You could have put a bulk of Norm's scenes together and dedicated half of an episode to him alone midway through the season, leave him untouched and then revisit him again towards the end of the season, and that would have worked better. Episode 7 literally cuts to him for 30 seconds and then back to Steph. It feels very clunky, very haphazard, and just nonsensical at times, with the predominant feature on scenes that don't need to be there. The pacing of this season might genuinely be one of the worst pacing shows I've ever seen, and I'm almost confident I could edit all the important moments down to a 2-hour-long film. If anything, if you were to trim the fat of this season, you'd get a 5-episode long season. It's how much time's wasted. Every time it felt like the ball was starting to roll again, we'd cut to another ball that wasn't even on the track yet, and I didn't care for it. If anything, it took away further from these moments of tension, these few moments of tension, because I knew that in 10 seconds we'd cut to Reg thinking about cake and dancing or something. Multiple times I audibly said, to the annoyance of my girlfriend, I don't care. At one moment I actually skipped 15 minutes because I just didn't care about what was going on and I wanted to get back to the plot that actually mattered. The writing already didn't give these characters much to work with anyway, and now the editing is slicing up their key moments to be filler sections between the three main plots that people actually care about. In fact, you could take Reg's entire plot out and nothing would change. Put Steph's in there instead, allowing her to grow more organically and give her actual time to grow, rather than dropping her backstory and giving us her background lore in the penultimate episode and dedicating 20 minutes of runtime to her, taking away time from more important plots. You haven't built her up enough for this. What are we doing? We don't need to see all of this in order to know that the vault might be cooked. We get it. We've already seen this before. Hank's sections could also use with more trimming and could be compiled way more effectively. Showing him at the end of season 1 already at Vegas, and then he's just in the vault when we next see him is such a weird jump. Like I said, the pacing is off. He's fast traveling apparently. And the mouse section could have also been trimmed down. This is what I mean. You could trim down so many of these little scenes that are dotted everywhere and compile them into a 20-minute long section and not need to visit them again for a bit. Give them time to grow in the earlier episodes. But they don't do that. It's just cut after cut after cut after cut. Not to mention the trip from Lucy killing the king to entering the strip apparently took them the whole day. Long loading times, I guess. Nearly everyone I know that isn't a Fallout fan have tuned out by episodes 5 or 6. My mom stopped watching it at episode 5, she just doesn't care. And my mom will happily sit through all the Lord of the Rings extended editions back to back, so she's got the patience. Just wants something good on television, and she was like, yeah, I don't care, this is just really boring now. The most annoying thing about the show, though, its location. Of safety, a harbinger in the storm, surrounded by chaos and anarchy, waiting to fall apart. The visuals of New Vegas are very inviting and often want you to explore every nook and cranny, every crevice, every hidden aspect that this gem offers. I'm not kidding when I say New Vegas has an incredible aesthetic. I'm sure you can agree. The art style and art direction is second to none. The character designs are fantastic. Apart from the faces, sure, but it's an old game. What I'm trying to say is the world of New Vegas is unique. It's inviting, it's atmospheric, it's capturing, it has an attitude. It's ready for you to explore. None of that in the show. I think they were damned and doomed the second they said they were going to set it in New Vegas, to be honest with you. And I'm struggling with the why of it, really. Why set it in New Vegas if you are going to use New Vegas? And they don't use New Vegas. They barely show the Mojave at all. Mostly just their own locations, aside from places like Novak, which they get wrong, the Sunset Bottling Plant, which they get wrong, Plant, the Strip, Freeside, which they get wrong. The wonderful thing about locations like New Vegas, New Reno, Vault City, and the likes of it are these locations thrive in spite of the wasteland. It's an oasis of harmony from the madness outside, but be aware because there's monsters in the walls too, rotten from within. It's a fun idea to explore. The show just made New Vegas another skeleton city. It didn't explore any of its cool aspects at all. It didn't explore the other buildings. It didn't explore the humanity of it. Nothing. Such wasted potential in my eyes. It spends more time showing us the carcass than explaining how we got here. It's like New Vegas was a character and we had to watch it get character assassinated. And if you think that's an extreme thing to say, let me list it off. We don't objectively explore the strengths of New Vegas or its uniqueness. We see in multiple end credit panels different slides and different areas like McCarran being completely destroyed. Locations we've known are in ruin. We have entire and needless sections of Lucy killing ghouls that are kings of beloved factions that now just are dead, apparently.
Last episode, they have Lucy go on her drug-fueled rampage, just wiping out all of the kings that are apparently ghouls now, feral ghouls. That was done for literally no reason. That whole scene where they're killing the kings is nothing but a middle finger to Fallout fans.
We see the Khans for a bit, but we don't get to explain how or why they're in Novak. Again, they just die. We don't get to see any of the cool locations like Good Springs, but we do get to see that Prim and another end credit sequence is destroyed too. Everything from Vegas is just dead. We were just speed running through that. They killed the king. They killed the king. And while yes, the NCR returns and the Legion reforms, it's like we had to sacrifice literally everything just to end up back where we were in New Vegas, only everything's dead now. Hoover Dam isn't even mentioned, which is wild. No Lanius, no Yes Man, no Fantastic. Nothing about New Vegas was actively explored. You could have put this in any other location and nothing would have changed. Nobody who hasn't played New Vegas or like seen Fallout lore would be like, well, why isn't Mr. House in New Vegas? They wouldn't, right? Because like they don't know. So you set it in New Vegas to explore House. Is that it? Was it just for House? Because that's a waste of a location. A genuine waste of a location. The show not only undermines, but in my opinion completely invalidates the efforts of the Courier and the experience of the game New Vegas. No matter what choices you make in that game, no matter what side you decide to help, no matter what beast you decide to cure, everyone loses. In a game about the vice of humanity and trying to heal a sick animal called Hope, we actually get our answer. Everyone dies. You lose. I've argued this point before with a bunch of people, and most of the time, most people from TV show enjoyers to Fallout fans in general sit there, they're like, okay, I hear what you're saying, I agree, or I don't agree, and here's why we have a nice conversation. But the people that verbally assault me are Fallout 4 fans. In fact, Fallout 4 fans are being so toxic about this, and they are the ones that are shouting at you and screaming in the comments. Even though they've only played Fallout 4, they haven't played any other game, they don't understand nuance. You're wrong, even though you break it down on a critical level. In my experience, if you want to argue a point, raising your voice because someone presented a fact to you often means you've lost. And nearly every single time I've talked with someone about this specific point, they've always said, well, I've only played Fallout 4, and you're wrong. And then they shout at me when I'm like, well, that's not valid then. I have no problem with you only playing Fallout 4, but you can't criticize this point specifically because you've not played New Vegas, you've not experienced New Vegas, you don't understand physically, objectively, the concern. So when you shout at me, I'm just going to ignore you. The games did this before with 1 and 2, and people hated it then like they hate it now. People are allowed to not like a decision. Right, it's called Death of the Author. To relegate the events of a player choice driven game to just being void in the very next installment makes you ask the question, what the hell was the point in playing the game if I just lose anyway? Right? If every single time a game about rebuilding humanity, that hope, that humanity is just wiped out of your control, out of your hands in the next installment, and we keep repeating that, what is the point in playing that? Especially considering, you know, the Yes Man ending appears to be the canon ending that invalidates so much. Courier didn't kill Caesar. Caesar seems to have died of natural causes. I don't even know if the final battle for the dam happens because we see General Oliver's hat. That's a general's hat in McCarran. Why would any other general be there other than Oliver? We know he's the commanding officer of this region. There's so much in this show that just invalidates a huge portion of what you do in Vegas. And that really sucks. I want to make it clear, I do like aspects of this show, and I firmly believe that when they do their own thing, they cook really well. Part of Fallout's strength is being able to explore locations we haven't seen before, and if you don't like it, you don't have to explore it. Like, if you're a New Vegas fan and you don't like Fallout 4, you don't have to play Fallout 4, right? Because it isn't one continuous story. It's its own little pocket story with its own little narrative beats, so on and so forth. And if you like Fallout 4 and you don't like New Vegas, vice versa. That was the strength of Fallout. Now it's all connected, with, despite them saying they're not doing it, canonical endings. The Fallout New Vegas ending appears to be, yes man, it hints at that quite heavily. And this is what I mean. When the show does its own thing, I think it does it really good. The Ghoul, as an example, especially in Season 1, is a very cool and unique and entertaining character. I love his gun. The sections in the final 2 episodes have some strong moments, especially with the NCR turning up. I just don't enjoy Season 2 as much as I liked Season 1, even though Season 1 also had some major plot points and retcons.
I understand now. You made a clever forgery.
When Max fights the Deathclaws, awesome action, which makes me wonder what happened with the clunky fight with Harkness in earlier episodes. I still, despite enjoying the last episode, firmly believe that Season 2 should be retconned out. Like, the Ghoul is just on a pole, impaled, and nobody loots him, nobody steals his weapons. That's not my Vegas. My Courier was there, that motherfucker would have been looted instantly. It does way too much damage to the West Coast, it butchers an entire game's story and progress, and undermines its story that it's trying to tell. It doesn't actually actively develop its own characters until the last minute, and Enclave reveal be damned, Season 2 of the Fallout show is a messy, half-hearted, and weak attempt to capture the magic that Season 1 did. Seemingly heavily relying on the name New Vegas alone, Season 2 does more damage to the name than actually actively help it, or even explore cool elements of it. When they said they were going to New Vegas, I was like, we get to see cool parts of New Vegas. We don't get to see anything. And that's a real shame. Because again, why set it in New Vegas if you're not going to explore and use New Vegas? So you rely on the New Vegas name, you do nothing with it. Season 2 fails to capture its own magic again. Season 2 fails to capture audience retention as much, from what I've heard anyway. And Season 2 fails to capture the nuance that made New Vegas so special. I'm not alone in this sentiment.
So let's talk a little bit about the structure, because I feel like New Vegas, funny enough, was underutilized here.
And I really do wish I could enjoy the show. I don't want people to think I'm coming at this and I hate it. I don't hate the show. I just don't like it. I like Season 1. I don't like Season 2. Anyway, let me know what you think down below in the comment section. I can't wait for more Bethesda community managers to block me for this one. Don't think I didn't see that. Yeah, I saw that. Let me know what you think down below in the comment section. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.